So all schools in Kenya will remain closed until January next year because of the coronavirus pandemic. This also means that examinations will only take place next year. The pandemic has caused havoc, no doubt, for many countries and has brought the 2020 school academic year into sharp focus. Kenya has over 10,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19 and 202 deaths. We're joined now by education expert from Nairobi, Kenya, Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei. Dr. Jepkemei, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. What were some of the considerations that were made in closing the school year in Kenya?
Hi, thank you for having me. So, as you know, and as you've already mentioned, that most countries were affected by COVID. And so when Kenya recorded its first case, it was decided that all schools be closed because we didn't feel that there were structures in place to make sure that the children would be safe should they happen to catch COVID, or in fact whether the facilities around the country would be sufficient to be able to support the learners if that happened to COVID happened to be in school. The other thing, of course, was given the structure of classrooms in Kenya, it was not possible for learners to, to engage in physical distancing, and therefore it was felt that amidst that anxiety, it was felt that it's important for the children to be home with their parents as the government thinks about how best to move forward. Yeah.
And what has been the impact? We understand that teenage pregnancies have risen in Kenya, especially in places like Kibera, Africa's largest slum.
So the impact has been very unforgiving, actually, I would say, because, as you know, Kenya is very diverse. You've mentioned Kibera. There's also the rural Kenya, where most people who live there are generally the poor, and there are specific areas where we have, we call it the arid and the semi-arid lands. And in these places, most times when children go to school, it's not just for education, but also for to be able to have a kind of a family, and also sometimes because we have school feeding programs, this is the place where children would be able to find a meal, and so food would be used as part of the incentive to get the children to go to school. Now, with the closing of schools, it's not possible for such children to be able to find a meal, and so we are worried that some of the issues that we'll be seeing moving forward would include malnutrition, and obviously stress for the learners. We have also seen a record gender-based violence going up. So we do have pregnancies, but we also have, what I consider more serious, the sexual violence against girls. And it's not just in the slums, it's generally around the country. We were told about a month ago that we have 18,000 recorded teenage pregnancies around the country. And that is attributed to the fact that most kids are at home and they are generally idle. There's nothing much that they are doing, and so they begin to engage in activities that would result in, these kinds of challenges. So I think that Kenya is really struggling under the weight of, the dilemma of how do we move forward? Do we let the children go back to school and avoid all these other challenges? What if, do we have the right structures to be able to continue learning in the midst of the pandemic?
And on that point, a country like South Africa, for instance, debate raging wildly on whether schools should continue or the academic year be postponed to next year. In Kenya, for instance, was consensus just generally around everybody agreeing, or was there robust debate as well as to what to do with the academic year?
So I don't think I can say that there was a robust debate, because I have heard and I've engaged with some of the stakeholders who feel that we shouldn't have closed school all the way to January. We still have time that we can still be able to evaluate how best we can open schools. Some are of this opinion that we should have the candidates, that's the grade 8 and the year 12, to go back and sit their terminal exams. So, but there was I would say that there was some kind of discussion among the teachers' unions and the Ministry of Education and generally the higher hierarchy of the education sector. I'm not sure that I can say that we had a lot of input from parents, although some of the parents are happy with the decision. Obviously, you cannot, you can't put on a balance endangering your child and having them stay home with you. Some of them are saying, I'd rather have my child safe than have a dead child with a certificate. So you can see how parents are thinking about it. Mm-hmm. However, even with that and the children being safe at home, there's a big challenge of learning loss, that the longer the kids stay away from school, and there are studies that have shown that even for the normal long holidays that sometimes we have, it's not possible in January for us to go back and say we will begin from where we left, because there is going to be some learning loss that has happened for the children, and therefore there will be need for us in education to think about how best can we help the learners to accelerate their learning, to pick what they have lost and begin to move forward with that. If we are not careful, we are likely to lose some of the kids, and some of them are likely to remain behind in their learning. So it's a very...
Perhaps a final thought from you, please. So UNESCO's Institute for Statistics in a report notes globally 6 out of 10 children and adolescents are not achieving minimum proficiency levels in reading and mathematics. As a continent, have we not been presented with an opportunity to reimagine learning?
We do, and I think for me, my thoughts around reimagining education is that we do have a big opportunity to change how we do education in Africa generally, and most certainly in Kenya. I'm thinking about how can we be efficient, and some of the thoughts that I have include how best can we leverage ICT. I think everybody is talking about that right now, but I'm also thinking about the curriculum itself. How can we make sure that the curriculum is efficient? Do we need to teach a 6-year-old 8 subjects or 5 subjects, or do we need to basically teach them about environment, math, and how to read? Because then we are helping them to learn how to learn in their own world. So I agree, it is a transformative moment, and we have the opportunity to be able to change education in Africa.
Dr. Evelyn Jepkemei, asante. She's an education expert joining us from Nairobi in Kenya.